The Great Hall of Stars was built at the center of the Celestian Court. It was made of shining crystal and floating light. A place where entire galaxies sent their rulers to speak. The walls seemed to hum softly, like they were alive. Tall windows opened to the endless dark sky outside, filled with slow-moving starships and drifting comets. Every light in the hall shone brighter when the princess walked in. Princess Aria of the Valerie moved with the calm grace of someone born to be obeyed. Her gown was made of silver threads that looked like moonlight woven together. A soft blue crown hovered above her dark hair, the wishing diadem, the most powerful artifact her people owned. It could grant 3 wishes to one being in their lifetime. This was not a game. This was law. Hundreds of alien leaders stood around her in floating rings. Some had golden skin that sparkled like dust. Some were tall, cold-looking machines. Some were creatures that shimmered like water. They all bowed when the princess entered. The hall went quiet. Only the sound of the crystals breathing could be heard. At the center of the room, on the glowing platform, stood a single human. He looked out of place in every way. His name was Elias Trent. He wore a pilot jacket made of old leather, little scratched and faded from years of work. His boots had oil stains on them. His hair was short, messy, and dark. And his eyes were sharp and bright like a pilot watching the stars. A Valerie guard whispered to another, "This is the one who saved her?" The second guard answered quietly, "A human." "Yes. One from the planet Earth." Many aliens around the hall began to murmur. To them, humans were just ordinary. A small, fragile species. A young species. A species that had no great fleets or ancient power. They fixed ships, sold spare parts, and sometimes flew transport routes for stronger empires. No one expected a human to ever stand in this room. At the center of the Celestian Court, but Elias had done something no one else had. The rescue. That changed everything 3 weeks ago. The princess's ship had been trapped in a storm near the edge of the dark spiral nebula. The storm tore through her engines. Her guards could not control the ship. Every advanced system failed one by one. Elias had been nearby, flying his small, old freighter called Wanderer's Way. His ship was built from second-hand parts, slower than most modern ships. But he knew the storms better than most pilots. He flew close, connected an old manual tow line, and used nothing but old-fashioned thruster. Control to pull the royal cruiser out of the storm? No machine could have done that. No autopilot. It was human hands and instinct. The Valari people could not understand it. They had machines for everything. They did not fly by feel, but Elias had felt the storm's rhythm, adjusted his engines, and saved the princess. By the ancient royal law of the Valari, anyone who saved the life of a royal heir was granted 3 wishes, and so the human was brought here to the Great Hall. The ceremony of wishes, a voice echoed across the room. It was the chancellor of the court. He was tall, made of shimmering golden glass, and his voice sounded like wind through bells. Elias Trent of Earth, the chancellor spoke slowly, clearly. By royal decree of House Valari, you have saved the life of Princess Aria. For this act, you shall be granted 3 wishes. These wishes shall be bound by the diadem and honored across the stars. Elias stood quietly. His hands were in his jacket pockets. He wasn't nervous. He had seen stars, storms, pirates, and the quiet darkness between galaxies. This was just another kind of storm. Princess Aria looked at him carefully. She had met many kinds of people, ambitious ones, greedy ones, clever ones. Almost everyone who had ever stood before the wishing diadem had asked for power, wealth, control, a planet, a fleet, immortality. She expected no less from a human. She stepped forward, her voice soft but clear. "Elias Trent," she said, "you may speak your first wish." The hall grew silent. Every alien in the room leaned forward a little. This was the moment they always enjoyed, watching someone reveal what they truly wanted. The unexpected wish. Elias did not rush. He looked up at the tall windows where the stars drifted slowly. He thought about Earth, Not the rich cities, not the government, not the big things people like to talk about, but the quiet places. The farms, the deep oceans. The pilots in small ships who worked every day. The engineers who fixed things when no one else could. For too long, the galaxy had called humans insignificant. That word had stuck with him. He took a deep breath and spoke clearly. "My first wish," he said, "is that every human, everywhere, can no longer be underestimated." The Chancellor blinked. Several alien leaders looked at each other confused. Arya's eyes widened slightly. She had expected riches. She had expected power. But this, she hadn't even known the diadem could do something like that. The diadem above her head glowed softly, then more brightly. It shimmered like a small star, spinning faster as it searched for meaning. The artifact did not just grant physical power. It reshaped how the galaxy itself perceived things. And this wish. This was a wish about perception. "You ask," the Chancellor said carefully, "for a change not of matter, but of thought." Ilias nodded. "Yes." Arya tilted her head. "Explain." He met her gaze without fear. "Every day, we humans fix ships, fly transports, clean ports, build tools. We help keep your galaxy running. But no one looks at us as equals. They look at us as background, unimportant. I want that to end. Not by giving us power, not by building us an empire. Just let them see us. Truly see us." The diadem flared. A low hum filled the hall. Some aliens covered their eyes. The light grew like a sunrise, warm and endless. The wishing diadem accepted the wish. "Wish accepted," the Chancellor said softly. "Change initiated." The shockwave the moment the wish was accepted. Something invisible spread out across the stars. It was not a weapon. It was not a sound. It was a shift. On the far mining colonies of Dernick 7, a human engineer was repairing a plasma drill. A group of lizard-like merchants watched. A moment ago, they barely noticed her. Now, something inside their minds made them stop. They looked at the human differently, not as a background worker, but as someone sharp, capable, equal. On the academic world of Solus Prime, a human student raised his hand in class. For the first time, the alien professor didn't skip over him. She paused. She listened, on the trade hubs, in the fleet docks. In the quiet corners of the galaxy, millions of small changes happened at the same time. Not forced. Just a sudden clarity. Humans were no longer invisible, and back in the Great Hall, the aliens began to whisper, louder this time. What did he just do? This changes everything. Princess Arya had never seen the court react this way. She could feel their confusion. Some were frightened. Some were thoughtful. A few looked angry. She stepped down from her platform, her silver gown whispering against the crystal floor. She stood face to face with Elias. "You did not ask for wealth," she said softly. "You did not ask for your own power." "No," Elias answered. "You asked for your people." There was something in her chest she had not felt before, an unfamiliar warmth. "No one has ever done that." Elias gave a small, tired smile. Maybe they should have. A new weight in the galaxy. The court meeting did not end quickly after that. Many leaders demanded to know the limits of the wish. Will this give humans ships? No. Will this make them stronger? No. Then what does it do? The Chancellor explained, with his voice like bells. It changes how you see them. It removes the blind spot you did not even know you had. The room buzzed with noise. Some alien empires had built their power on the idea that humans were weak, ordinary, easy to ignore. This wish threatened to shake those quiet balances. A large crystalline leader shouted, "This could make them dangerous." Elias didn't look at him. He just said, "No. It just lets you see us as we are." That silence was louder than any shout. Arya's thoughts after the council meeting ended. Arya returned to her private chamber high above the court. Through the large window, she could see ships, slowly circling the great station, like glowing birds. She sat down in the quiet and removed the diadem from above her head. Its soft light floated in her hands. No one had ever used the diadem this way. Most people used it to grab something for themselves. A planet. A treasure. Long life. Control. But Elias had changed. Something far bigger than himself. She thought about the look on his face. Calm, honest, not proud, not loud. Just real? She found herself whispering softly. Humans. She had studied their history before. A young species. Loud, emotional, unpredictable. But she had never looked closely. She had never thought of them as anything but background players. Now the galaxy could no longer ignore them. Meanwhile, on Earth, news spread fast. Not through official channels, but through the way news always spreads, people talking to people. In cafes, shipyards, spaceports. On Earth, people woke up to find the galaxy suddenly looking at them. A young girl working at a small port on Luna Station noticed that alien traders now greeted her politely. A teacher in a Martian dome received invitations to a science exchange that no human had been invited to before. Nothing explosive happened, but everything was different. Humans felt something they had not felt before. A kind of quiet pride. A kind of hope. And none of them knew it had started with one man standing in front of a princess. Back to the court the next day, Elias was called to the princess's private garden. It was a soft green space floating in the middle of the station, filled with flowers from hundreds of worlds. Small lights drifted through the air like tiny fireflies. Arya stood near a silver tree, her gown simpler now. No crown. Just her. You've caused a storm, she said. Ilias walked slowly through the grass. I know some empires are worried, they should be. Her lips curved slightly. You are not afraid? Why should I be? All I asked was to be seen. For a long moment, neither spoke. They just looked at the stars through the transparent walls. You still have 2 wishes, Arya said. I know. Do you plan to shake the galaxy again? He smiled lightly. I don't know yet. She studied him. The way he stood, the way he spoke, no fear, no greed. Just a human looking at the stars like they belonged to him too. For the first time, she wondered if they did. The whisper across the stars even, though no shots were fired, even though no ships moved. The galaxy felt different. An alien commander on the edge of the Varan expanse paused before dismissing a human crew. He looked again. This time he saw the quiet strength in their movements. A merchant changed a contract clause. A scientist sent an invitation. A teacher rewrote a lecture. Small things. But these small things would grow, and it had all started with a single, which Elias Trent became a name whispered in the halls of power, not as a conqueror, not as a leader, but as the one who forced the galaxy to see humanity. And Princess Arya, who had granted the wish, found herself watching closely. Something new had started, and she was part of it. A quiet ending. For now, as the artificial night fell on the Celestian court, Elias returned to his small ship. He touched the control panel gently, feeling the hum of the engines. His ship was old, but it was his. Outside, ships larger than mountains floated like sleeping beasts. He didn't have a fleet. He didn't have an army, but the galaxy now looked at him and at every human dash differently. He leaned back in his chair, and whispered to himself, That's one. The stars outside sparkled like they were listening and far away. In rooms of rulers and warlords, powerful beings began to ask a new question. What will his second wish be? Elias smiled, because he already knew the answer would not be simple. The stars outside the Celestian court were quiet, but everyone in the galaxy could feel something different. The human race, once easy to ignore, now stood like a small star, burning brighter than before. News of the first wish traveled faster than any ship. It reached the trade stations on the edge of the Orion Belt, in the quiet moons of distant planets, and the large meeting halls of alien governments. Everywhere, people were asking the same question. What will the human wish for next? In 100 different languages, in quiet whispers and loud arguments, everyone spoke the same name, Elias Trent, the princess's garden. The royal garden of Princess Arya floated like a soft island above the court. The air smelled sweet and warm. Tiny silver birds flew in slow circles between trees from a dozen worlds. This was the one place where the princess could walk without guards or cameras watching her every move. Tonight, Elias stood in that garden again. He leaned on the railing, looking at the stars. His ship floated far below, small shadow against the shining station. Princess Arya stepped into the garden, wearing a soft white dress that glowed gently in the nightlight. The wishing diadem floated above her head again, shining faint blue. "You seem calm," she said. Elias turned and gave a small smile. "Should I be worried? Half the galaxy is talking about you," she said softly. "Some of them want to make you their friend. Some of them want to control you. And some do not like what you did." Elias shrugged lightly. "That doesn't surprise me." Arya walked closer and stood beside him. For a moment, they just looked at the stars together. "They fear what they do not understand," she said. "Humans were always simple to them, predictable. But now you are. Visible." He smiled again, slower this time. "Good." She tilted her head. "You still have 2 wishes." "I know." Her voice was careful. "What will you do next, Elias Trent?" He didn't answer right away. His eyes followed a slow-moving comet in the distance. "Something bigger," he finally said. The council's pressure the next morning. The council of the Celestian Court gathered again. The floating rings of alien leaders circled the main chamber like glowing moons. Everyone wanted answers. The Chancellor's voice rang out like bells. "The human Elias Trent will make his second wish today." The air in the hall was thick with tension. Every leader had their own plan. Some wanted the wish to benefit them. Some wanted to control it. Some simply wanted to stop him from speaking. Elias entered the hall without guards, without armor, and without fear. His boots echoed softly on the crystal floor. Princess Arya followed behind him, the diadem glowing softly above her head. She watched the faces of the council, worried, curious, afraid. The Chancellor raised his shining hands. "Elias Trent of Earth, your second wish awaits." Elias's voice Elias stood at the center platform again. Just like the first time, he looked at the tall windows before he spoke. The stars outside were endless. He thought about his first wish. It had made humans visible. It had opened eyes. But visibility alone was not enough. If humans were to stand among the stars as equals, they needed something more than just being seen. He took a slow breath. His voice was clear and steady. "My second wish," he said, "is that every human has the freedom to explore the galaxy without being blocked, owned, or controlled by any empire." The hall fell silent. No one had expected that. The meaning of freedom for centuries. Humans had traveled between systems as workers, traders, and explorers. But they were always limited. Big empires controlled the routes. Some worlds did not allow humans to land. Some demanded taxes so high that only the richest could leave Earth. Others forced humans to work under alien corporations if they wanted to stay in space. This wish, this single sentence, would break all of that. A large silver-skinned alien leader stood up. "This is dangerous. You cannot give freedom to everyone." Elias turned to him calmly. "Why not?" The leader's golden eyes narrowed. "Because your kind will cause chaos." Elias met his stare without flinching. "Or maybe we'll build something better." The wishing diadem began to shine brighter. A warm, silver light filled the hall. The artifact did not care about politics. It only cared about the wish. "Wish accepted," the Chancellor said slowly. "Change initiated." The light spread out like soft waves moving through water. And far away, across the galaxy, locks began to open. The ripples begin, a cold mining moon. A small group of human workers were waiting in line to board an alien transport. For years, they needed a permit just to travel. As the light touched their station, the scanners at the gate turned green without any ID. The guard, confused, checked his screen again. No restrictions. None at all. On a busy trade station, a human pilot tried to enter a restricted flight path. Normally, it was blocked by the Empire. But now the barriers were gone. A message blinked on his screen. "Free passage granted on a quiet farm world." An elderly human woman smiled as a drone delivered the first starship she could finally register without an alien sponsor. She whispered softly, "I never thought I'd live to see this." Across the galaxy, a quiet storm of freedom was born. Not loud, not violent, just door after door opening. The reactions, not everyone was happy. In the Hall of Stars, alien leaders began to argue. Their voices overlapped, loud and worried. They will fill the stars with chaos. They will destroy the order we built. They are too unpredictable. Elias stood silently in the center as they argued about him like he wasn't there. Arya stepped forward and raised her hand. Enough. The hall quieted. When the princess spoke, everyone listened. "You fear humans, not because they are weak," she said, "but because they are free." The room shifted. Some of the leaders looked away. Elias looked at her, surprised. She met his eyes and gave a small, calm smile. She was no longer just a princess watching a stranger. She was standing with him, a message to Earth that night. Leah spoke to Earth from the Celestian court. A bright signal was sent to every colony, every station, every settlement. His image appeared as a hologram, standing before the royal symbol of Valar. "My name is Elias Trent," he said. "You may have heard my name by now. I made 2 wishes. The first one made them see us. The second gave us the right to walk among the stars without chains. What comes next is up to us." He paused. Behind him, the princess stood silently, a sign that the wish was real. "Freedom is not about power," Elias said. "It's about choice. You have it now. Explore, build, learn, show them who we are." Billions of humans across the galaxy listened. Some cheered, some cried, some simply stood in silence, feeling something they had never felt before, a door opening inside their hearts. The princess's choice in the quiet garden later that night. Arya found Elias sitting on the grass. A soft wind moved through the leaves. He was staring at the stars again. "You've changed everything," she said softly. Elias didn't look at her. "I didn't do it alone. I just opened a door." "You opened every door," she said with a small smile. For a long time, they sat in silence. Then she asked the question everyone was asking. "What about your third wish?" He finally turned to her. "I don't know yet." "You must be careful," she said. "A third wish from the diadem can shake entire civilizations. The other empires will not simply stand by." He nodded. "I know." She looked at him, trying to understand. "Why are you doing this?" He thought for a moment. "Because someone has to." She smiled faintly. "You are a strange human. I get that a lot." The growing storm weeks passed. The effects of the second wish grew like ripples in a lake. New human ships left Earth every day, small exploration vessels, family transports, science ships. Some were old, some were new. They went to places they had only dreamed about, for the first time in history. Humans didn't need permission to reach the stars. And because they were finally free to move, they began to create. Small human outposts appeared on empty moons. New trade routes opened. New friendships formed between species that had once ignored each other. But with this new wave of human movement came something else too: fear. Some alien rulers saw their control slipping, their taxes, their flight restrictions. Their old power structures were breaking apart like sand in the wind. A secret meeting one night. Princess Arya received a private message from the Council of Dominion, group of powerful alien empires who liked things to stay under their control. They wanted to meet her in secret. The room was dark, filled with tall figures. Their faces were hidden behind glowing masks. One of them spoke with a deep voice. "Princess Arya, your actions have created a dangerous future." Arya stood tall. "The diadem granted the wishes. I followed our laws." Another voice hissed, "Then break them." Her hands tightened at her sides. "You want me to stop him?" "He is changing everything," the masked leader said. "If humans become free travelers, they will be everywhere. And if they can no longer be ignored, they might rise." Arya thought of Elias's quiet smile, of how he stood alone in the hall and never looked afraid. "Maybe that's not a bad thing," she said softly. The room erupted in angry voices. But the princess did not step back. The third wish approached. Aprocilius knew his third wish would be the most important. The galaxy was already shifting because of the first two. He had made them see. He had made them free. But he also knew power could be dangerous. One wrong wish could break everything. He didn't want power. He wanted something lasting. One night, he sat on the wing of his ship, staring at the stars again. The princess joined him quietly. "Have you decided?" she asked. "Not yet," he said. She lowered her voice. "Some want to stop you before you speak your third wish." "I know. You're not afraid." "I'm human," he said with a grin. "Being afraid never stopped us." She laughed softly. It was the first time he had ever heard her laugh. The day of the third wish, the great hall of stars was full again. Every leader was there. Soldiers, drones, reporters, and ships surrounded the station. The air was heavy with expectation. Elias walked in slowly, his boots soft on the shining floor. The princess walked beside him, head high, the diadem glowing like a small star. The chancellor spoke. "Elias Trent, this is your third and final wish." The hall fell silent. Elias looked at the stars through the tall windows. He thought of Earth, of the small hands building ships, of the voices laughing in the colonies, of how far humans had come. Then he turned back to the crowd. "My third wish," he said clearly, "is that every species in this galaxy, no matter how small, will always have the right to speak, to be heard, and to dream without being silenced." The words were simple, but they carried the weight of 1,000 suns. The diadem shone brighter than it ever had before. The light filled the entire hall, warm and endless. "Wish accepted," the chancellor whispered. "Change initiated." The galaxy listens. The ripple of the third wish moved faster than the speed of any ship. On a cold moon, a small insect-like race that had never been allowed to speak at the council suddenly received a message. "Your voice matters now." On a hidden water world, a soft-singing species finally spoke their truth without fear of being erased, and across the stars. The human race stood tall-knot above anyone. But beside them, the galaxy didn't become perfect overnight. But something new had been born. Something stronger than control. Something brighter than fear. A shared voice. The princess and the human, when the light faded, the hall was silent again. But it wasn't the silence of fear. It was the silence of something too big to name. Elias stood in the center. The leaders who once ignored him now looked at him with a mix of respect and wonder. "Princess." Arya stepped forward and looked into his eyes. "You did not just give power to humans," she said softly. "You gave a gift to everyone." Elias smiled. "It was never just about us." She reached out her hand, something no Valari royal had ever done to a human in public, and Elias took it. Epilogue: A New Age. Months later, the galaxy was different. Humans traveled freely among the stars. New alliances formed between species that had once been silent. The council grew larger, now with new voices that had never been heard before. Elias Trent returned to his small ship. He didn't want to be a king. He didn't want to rule. He just wanted to fly. Princess Arya visited him often, not as a ruler. As a friend, one quiet night, as the stars stretched before them, Elias whispered, "It's a big galaxy." She smiled. "And now, everyone has a place in it." The ship lifted off slowly, disappearing into the bright sea of stars. A human had made 3 wishes. But what he really gave was hope, and in the quiet heart of the galaxy, hope burned brighter than any star. G, or face them alone.